I'm not sure we're hot here, and everybody ready to go?
Diane's
Okay,
in the restroom.
that's fine.
I got the microphone on.
Open the regularly scheduled Monday, April 25th meeting of the Orion Township Zoning Board of Appeals. We will open it at this time. Please call the roll.
Dan Darrow,
Here.
Mike Flood,
Here.
Tony Cook,
Here.
Diane Denasky,
Here.
Don Walker, absent.
Thank you. That does constitute a quorum, correct? Okay, thank you. Next, we have the minutes of our previous meeting. If any board members have any feelings about those, whether they need to be altered, or if not, motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move to approve the minutes as submitted.
Support.
Moved by Mr. Flood, supported by Ms. Danaskis. Please call the roll.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Diane Denasky.
Yes.
Dan Darrow.
Thank you. Next, we have tonight's agenda review and approval. Any of the board members have any changes or concerns?
Mr. Chairman, I would move to approve the agenda as presented.
Thank you. I'll support. Moved by Mr. Flood, supported by myself. One more time with the roll, please.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
Diane Denasky.
Yes.
Dan Darrow.
Yes, thank you. Next, we move to our first case, but before we do, we've got a very short crowd tonight, and some of these cases sometimes get a little bit heated, and I say this quite often during the course of the year. When we come up to speak, everybody has to stay level and on point, not make accusations. I don't want to put a time limit on discussion, especially since there's so few people here. And I don't see that as anything necessary unless things start to stray off the line. And everyone will notice we have a 4-member board tonight, which will require a majority to get your, what you've come here to do passed, or in this case, it's just a vote of the board to decide on what's going to happen with the first case. So, with nothing further, we have case AB 99-02-2022, Dan's Excavating Incorporated, 2985 Judah Road. They're coming to us seeking a closure of their Ordinance 99 sand and mining permit. The parcels involved are Sidwell 09-32-400-056, and the unaddressed land that is that portion of Lot 11 of Mount Judah Farms, south of 2985 Judah Road, excluding the portion of Lot 11. I had it, of Lot 11 of Mount Judah Farms. It is part of Breckenridge Orion Condominium, parcel 09-32-400-096, and addressed land that is one parcel, west of 2985 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-095, and 3011 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-063. Do we have a representative from Dan's?
Good evening, Chris Kuzno representing the applicant Dan's Excavating 12955 23 Mile Road, Shelby Township, 48315. Requesting of the board essentially the closure of this permit. We've worked with Mr. Landis in fulfilling the obligations. Last I was here was for an extension of the permit solely to import topsoil, establish vegetation, which we did shortly after the last extension. There's a couple minor tweaks that Mr. Landis had requested of the site that we've since performed and completed out. But a simple request, and anxious, as I'm sure you all, to close this out. So I have nothing further to add. I did review Mr. Landis's report. I don't have any other questions or comments regarding it.
Thank you. So the silt fence is gone.
No, the silt fence, Mr. Landis had requested that to be removed as part of the full closeout, but no, it still remains.
Okay, I thought you had mentioned you got that stuff done. That's okay.
Nope.
No problem. Members of the board, any questions?
Not at this time.
Thank you. We have Mr. Landis from OHM who prepared the report that you're talking about. Would you go ahead and let us know your findings, please?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I won't read the letter verbatim, but I'll just kind of hit some of the highlights and walk you through this. Our letter of April 21st, 2022 was our first review of the closeout application as submitted by Dan's Excavating. The closure package did include a mining closure plan, last revised December 6th of 2021. The mining closure plan included in the application reflects the current condition of the site per the topographic survey conducted by the applicant's engineer. There is no proposed earthwork associated with this application. Since last year, as the applicant indicated, there was some minor grading operations related to drainage that have been completed. They've imported topsoil, seeded the site, and applied some mulch blankets where required. The majority of the site does have vegetation established. There were some areas that were just starting to have some vegetation emerge, especially some of the most recent drainage areas that were improved. As you mentioned, the silt fence that's out there is no longer needed because of the vegetation that's been established, so we're asking that to be removed as part of the condition of closeout. All the previous equipment that's been out there in the past, site walks, earthwork equipment, construction trailer, fuel tanks, all that has been removed from the site. There's a picture of that condition on page 2 of our report. Let's see, moving along. The steep southern slope that previously existed from the gas pipeline down to the north has been regraded to an approximate slope of 1:4. As we mentioned, since last year, there was just some minor drainage swales established, one along the easterly property line, and then one from the easterly cell of the retention pond towards Judah Road. picture of that swale along the eastern property line is shown on page 4. Since the grading operations are complete, the applicant is not proposing to renew their haul route permit with the road commission. It's our understanding that the road commission will now be maintaining Judah Road without the assistance of the applicant since their trucking operations are complete. As mentioned previously, the applicant has established and constructed a retention pond that has been sized to accommodate 2 100-year storms on the site. There is a culvert that outlets to the easterly cell that picks up some small off-site drainage area to the east. That culvert was visible, not obstructed, and since last year, there was a overland relief route established that would carry water to Judah Road from the pond to prevent water from backing up through the culvert off-site. The retention pond, you can see that on, I believe it's page 6 of our report. And then the overland relief route that I was just speaking of is pictured in page 7. And that pretty much sums it up. And, in conclusion, it was our opinion that the application and some materials submitted are in substantial compliance with the township ordinance and engineering standards. And we recommend the following items be a condition of any approval for closeout. Number 1, all silt fence shall be removed from the site and vegetation established within the newly mulch blanketed areas.
Thank you.
Happy to answer any questions you might have.
Bud.
Mr. Landis,
Yes, sir.
on page 5, I believe it's page 5. Right, yeah, but if I hear you correctly, the applicant is not going before the road commission to renew the haul permit?
That is my understanding, yes.
Am I correct on that, sir?
That is correct, yes.
I just want one statement to make. The people on Judah Road, thank God this thing is being done. They're tired of all the trucks and stuff ruining their summers and stuff, so I've had numerous residents contact me because they were notified within 300 feet of this thing. Known some of these people all my lives. Hallelujah, that's all I want to say. On behalf of those residents.
Any other board members have anything for Mr. Landis? No. Mr. Goodlow, I know you sit up here as kind of a consultant, but from your chair, is there anything going out there or anything this board should be aware of that hasn't already been expressed?
Not that I'm aware of.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead and have a seat, and we'll ask for public comment. Anybody come to speak to this matter, come on up, introduce yourself.
Eugene McNabb, 2981 Judah. First, which isn't important, we'll get rid of the pictures, 2 pictures that I handled you, that I gave to you.
Yep.
Well, the culvert that was put in probably '11, that was supposed to take care of the drainage, was put in the wrong place. As you can see right there, that is my property and the front part of Dan's property, the property that was never supposed to be on the permit. And is not, and never been on the permit. If you look at that, that's right in my backyard and in the backyard of 2985. That still gets water in there in the spring of the year. It don't drain into the pit. And the culvert was put in further back on my property. The water come from that area, run around that berm, and then they put the pipe in to drain into the pond. Well, it had to run through this section that you're looking at right there to run back in, to go back into the pit. So that, every year I get that water right there. It's not, I'm not supposed to get because it's coming off from the pit area.
Okay? This, I believe if it's what I think I'm looking at, should be running into the new ponds that they build on the front of the.
It should run from Dan's property at 2585 right into the pit. Because that property right there is just a little bit over 1060. And according to the court system and your attorney, he knows it's supposed to be, that pit is supposed to be leveled off at 1060. That's court orders. That's not here, that's the court order. And I believe Michael Flood knows it's supposed to be 1060, because he's pretty well up on what's going on. So that's where we're at there.
You believe if it was 1060, it would flow because it isn't flowing? That means it isn't 1060?
It's not, the property right in there is just probably a little over 1060, and the pit is supposed to be at 1060, so it goes downhill into the pit.
Let me ask you what is going to sound like a simple question to you, but I don't understand it. You speak of the pit. When I was there years ago, there was a really big hole in the ground where all the water was. That and the surrounding property is what I thought of as the pit. Now, you're talking about the property as it's leveled off today, when you say pit?
I'm talking about the whole area is a pit.
Okay, I just want to be sure that I'm understanding.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
okay, and the second picture, which doesn't mean much, that you can see there, it doesn't mean much. The only thing it means is you had a walkthrough, and there was more than 3 people in that walkthrough. And according to your attorney, anytime there's 3 or more people, there's supposed to be an open meeting. And I wasn't there, I wasn't notified. Now, because it was changed so you wouldn't have an open meeting, it was set up to each individual could go there on his own so you wouldn't have 3 people at one time there, because that would be an open meeting. So that was changed at your meeting.
Let me interrupt you just 1 second. I can only speak to 9 a.m. on the Saturday of the pit walk. I was there, Mr. Danaskis was there, and OHM, who does not sit on this board, was also there. They were there to answer questions that we may have. No other board member was there.
There wasn't what?
There was no other board member there. There were just 2 of us, myself and Mr. Danaskis. Matter of fact, I didn't see the rest of the board that day.
Well, I'll tell you what, I got other pictures and Mr. Flood was there.
Not when I was, but anyway,
It's the same meeting.
that's neither here nor there. I'm sorry, but I brought it up. But when I was there at 9 o'clock and left, there was not 3 people at there.
Well, then you didn't stick long enough to complete the whole meeting, because that was the meeting, and that's the date you had the meeting.
Okay.
He was there.
Go ahead and,
Mr. Chairman, since my name was brought up, I'd like to address this. I was there with myself, Tony Kirby, and Mr. Goodlow, who is not a voting member of this body. There was not 3 members there when I was there, which constitutes a quorum.
that is true.
So when I was there was not a quorum of this body there.
Was not at 9 a.m. either, because,
Okay, what, and
plus
the
Dan's
one
that's
board
good.
member that's not here, or the younger person, he was there.
I told you what I just said.
well, sir,
And he's not here at this meeting.
there's records of who was assigned to go there when in the planning department, and I'm sure those would be accessible by whatever
Well,
legal means necessary.
anyway, that's just the thing. I have more pictures at home that
Okay.
shows more people, because I could have produced more pictures with more people
I
there.
go on the record as, I didn't have a quorum in my party. I'm on the record on that.
Do you have anything additional that would pertain to what we're here to talk about tonight?
Correct, right here.
Okay,
We'll get in, this is just sideline stuff we was talking about.
okay, let me interrupt you 1 second. Mr. Kelly, anytime that you feel the need to speak or just hand up, whatever you need to do,
Sure.
we'll be happy to hear from you. Go ahead.
Okay. If, the one paper I give you, would you look at that?
Okay?
The rest of the board don't have it, but you can say if it's right or not, because these are papers from the township. In, let me look at the date. In 97, when it was under our ordinance 94, or ordinance 40, not under 40, under ordinance 40.
Okay.
The pit consists of 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. That was the pit. Okay, so now we had a new ordinance come in at 90, it was 99, we come in at 98. That's on your second thing here. Now, when this ordinance came in, it had to go through the ZBA, it had to go through the Planning Commission, it had to go through the Building Department, and it had, I think, 3 readings at the Township Hall before it was passed. That is your permit. Anything after that permit is renewals. There has never been another permit issued for any of this from 6 through 14. There's never been a permit issued. These are all renewals. So when you consider closing a pit or opening or doing anything, you got to go back to 98 when it was passed by the Building Department, the ZBA, Planning Commission, and the Township Board. That is the Bible. Okay. Now, let me just see what we got right here. I got my papers mixed up maybe. No, maybe not. In 2000, Ruth Warren, which is granola or what it is, she got the permit for that pit. She signed for the permit. And on that permit, it says Lot 10, Lot 12, and, if you want to look at and, part of 11, 13, and 14. So not all of 11, not all of 12, and not all of 14, or no, 12 was part of the pit. But 13 and 14, 11, 13, and 14 were not part of the pit, part of it. Where they dug the dirt was part of the permit, but not the rest of it.
Mr. McNabb, can I interrupt you just 1 minute?
Huh?
Can I interrupt you for just 1 second?
Go ahead, anytime.
We're running into a situation that we run into on this board quite often. People will come in and normally they want things, and if they can't have them, it's like, well, back then, the rule was this. And they got it then, and we tell them the same thing. The rules have changed. Now, what we're here to discuss tonight, the only purview this board has is the ordinance as it sits now and the conditions as they sit today at the pit. You've spent countless hours over the years. I've been here for most of them. You have background on this that I will never have. I just don't want you to go further back beyond the point that this board can do anything about it. We are here to look at the ordinance that we have in place, listen to our consultants, and look at what we saw with our own eyes. And that's all we can do. We can't go beyond that. I know nothing about any of this. I wasn't even in the township then. But even if I was, we can't go there. What we're here to discuss is tonight's request on the land that we saw.
Okay, but you did not look at all the pit. That's what I'm getting to.
Okay, one more sentence, and I'll back off for a minute. The pit is constructed of the lots that are in the ordinance at this time and what is on the permit at this time, the current renewal. You said there's been no other permit, because I remember you saying that the renewal has changed over time. Some lots have left, others have came. I have no knowledge whether that, is actually what happened or not, but I know you have told us that many times. But the pit is the lots that they have that I read into the record. And the ordinance is what it is on the board, and you heard what our consultant said about it. We don't have any latitude to go beyond that.
Okay, well, now we'll go some more. Let's say we're just getting good start here.
All right, Mr. McNabb, I will tell you this. I'll give you 5 more minutes.
Huh?
I'll give you 5 more minutes. That'll put you about 15 minutes on the clock. Then we will have to ask, probably Mr. McNabb Jr. may have something to say. We'll have him
You're
come
not
up.
gonna let me finish this here?
I'll give you 5 more minutes, sir. So I'll be quiet. You go ahead. You got 5 minutes to go.
I guess there's not even been good talking if you're not gonna listen to the facts of this meeting.
I'd be happy to listen. Then again, Mr.
Well, I'm not covering the same thing twice. I'm covering,
All right, is Mr. McNabb Jr. willing to cede his time to you?
I ain't worried about McNabb Jr. He's another individual.
That's true. That is true, but I cannot allow this to go. And I'm not going to,
You can allow it as long as you want to by this board giving me extra time anytime you want, and you know that. You're just trying to cut me off so you don't want to hear the facts.
no, sir, that is not the case.
It is the truth. You asked your attorney if cannot give me extra time. And there's nobody here to absorb your time or take care of any running you over.
Well, I told you you could have an additional on top of what you've already had, 5 more minutes.
I will challenge the board on your question.
That is your right.
I'm challenging the board.
Okay.
I have that right.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Flood.
according to our bylaws, you are following the bylaws of this committee. Is that right, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, that's my understanding, sure.
That's our bylaws.
I had read them the same way myself. And I'm leaning out over the long end already, so.
Okay, then I'll end up something that, bring out your map that's into your program. That you have on paper that came from the township.
Okay,
You looking at it? Every board member has that.
well, you go ahead. I'll find it while you're talking here. I've got a big piece. Go ahead.
Okay, is that map true?
To the best of my knowledge.
Well, then how come my property is on that map?
I don't see, based on what I'm looking at, where your property would stop and someone else would start.
Well, it's right there in the map. I see it on the map.
Okay, you have a bit more experience about knowing where to look for it.
Well, ask your building department. He can see it on the map.
Go ahead and move forward to your point, please.
Okay, my point is, they're using part of my property right now, right today, according to this map.
All right, you're aware, as all of us are aware, that this matter is under current litigation. We cannot speak to a matter that is being litigated at this time. I can offer and have no opinion on ongoing litigation.
I'm going by what the map is.
Okay.
I'm not talking about what's going in quarter system. I'm looking at what is on this paper right today. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm not talking about anything outside this room. I'm talking about what's on this map right today.
So it's your belief that your property does show up on this
It's
map?
being used right here according to this map.
Okay, I cannot confirm or deny that. I don't know.
Well, you got a building department right there, and he's not my buddy. Look at the map and show where that fence line is on that map.
What, direct your comments to me, please.
Huh?
Direct your discussion to me. We can't start up and down the line. We are running, we've got other people at the meeting here. If you have something to say, tell me.
Well, I'm telling you about a railroad and trying to shove a person under the rug. You won't even go back to the time that you took lot 10 off the permit, and you didn't have a right to take it off, because the fact is that when you see a thing come into this to be evaluated, you gotta go by what is on the paper that you're looking at. My property was on that permit in '08, and you took it off when the only thing that you got control of is the ordinance. You have no control to take my property off that permit in '08. This board has no control to take it off. And they took it off. I have proof here that Dan asked to have it on, and you took it off. There's no sense talking to you. You don't want to listen to what I'm saying. You won't give me the minutes and the time, which you can do. And I don't care what your laws set down here. I know what the Hoyle is for meetings. And you're not even following the rules of the committee. I looked it up on the internet, and you can do it, and you don't want to do it. And he knows that.
I'm sorry you're unhappy, Mr. McNabb.
Well, if you was railroaded and you live next door and you got railroaded, you wouldn't be happy either. I've been railroaded at every meeting I've ever been to.
Do we have anyone else that would like to speak to this matter?
Gene McNabb, Orion Township. I'd like to start off by saying I've never been more embarrassed from a board member such as yourself, conducting yourself the way you are. You're very hostile. I'd like to go on record saying you're hostile. I've known you for a long time. By you being hostile, that would lead me to believe you know what's right and what's wrong, and you're sweeping things under the rug for whatever reason, and that's fine, that's your choice. The questions I have, and I have questions, I always ask questions, and I never get answers. First questions I'd like to know of is, with all the technology, why wasn't the pictures and stuff you were discussing put on the screens for everybody to see? I've never seen them, I would have liked to seen them. It would have been something simple and that could have been done. That wasn't done. Why, I don't know. We requested a report from HOM during FOIA about the report, and what we got was there was no report available. Well, obviously there was a report. So there we have another information that we couldn't look at prior to this meeting. Maybe that's all planned from your attorney. I have no idea, and that's fine. What is the elevation upon closure
Elevation.
of the pit?
Mr. Landis has that information.
I'll certainly ask him to speak.
Well, the elevation of the property varies, slopes from the top of the gas line north down to the retention ponds.
So
It's not a constant elevation.
So the elevation is not 1060, is that correct?
There's not a consistent 1060 across the entire site, if that's,
So that would be a no. Now, the closure of the pit, I'm going to go on the pit that is on the application. What does that do?
When the pit application is closed, and Mr. Kelly, correct me, when the pit application is closed, Dan's does not reinstate their haul route, and they are, at that point, not required to, as long as they own the property, they'll be required to do anything that any other property would, but all my sand mining will be done, truck traffic will be gone. The things that have made made these be full rooms over the years, those things will be gone.
So the pit gets closed, they sell the property with the pending things that are going on. Is not etched in stone. There will be some rulings made one way or another. And this is something for the attorney to look at, and I'm sure he probably has. Where do you go after that?
If the
Is
board,
there, should you be putting this in holding until all this proceedings is over?
if the board elects to move forward on this closure tonight, and we'll be taking a vote for that shortly, and there is other things happening away that we don't know, it will eventually probably land right back down here on this desk again, and we'll take whatever measures are necessary.
When, excuse me, when does the haul permit expire?
Okay, that's not our haul permit, so.
But you've got dates in your packets. I didn't get a packet. I have no idea. But if the haul permit is expired, and I heard the word, let me back up. I heard the word, they're gonna ask for an extension to finalize some things that they may need to get finalized, that they may not be able to get done before the actual permit expires. Is that what I was gathering? That was one of his requests, whether he gets it or not, but that was one of the requests, am I correct?
I'm not believing that they'll need an extension. We will ask the gentleman to step back up in a minute. He can speak to that.
I heard the word extension, that's the only thing I heard.
Okay, we can have some clarification by the man that brought it to us.
And if it's extended, and they plan on doing work, and the haul route is expired, that's another issue. That's why I wanted to bring that up. So after the permit is closed out, they will just conduct themselves as a residential piece of property.
That is my understanding.
I can touch on that as well.
Mrs. Goodall?
Yeah, after the permit's closed out, it is considered the zone property, and I do believe it's residential. As for doing any work, they'd be held to the standards of every other resident in the township. If they move dirt, they would be held to a standard of a soil erosion permit possibly. So it's not, just because we close out the permit doesn't hold them from obligations of maintaining and keeping their land in order.
Thank you.
But don't be no, quote, commercial activity.
No. I say no. Let me clarify. No, in my mind, is mining, hauling trucks. For them to go in and pull out their silt fence when they're ready to at some future time, I do not see that as commercial.
Well, I don't either, but
That is,
keeping equipment there, hauling trucks in.
No, there should be none, according to every
I understand.
information we have.
So I would just thinking out loud, with everything that's going on, and Mr. Kelly knows the flow of what's going on, I know the flow of what's going on, it's not as favorable for the township and Dan's Excavating as it used to be. So I would just caution whatever the board does, because I am a tax-paying citizen of this township. I would like to see them put some safeguards in there as to, because their argument with balancing my father's property is, we don't own that property, we can't go on that to fix it. So they close the pit out, they sell those 3 or 4 parcels to whoever, brothers, cousin, uncles, nephews, sign them off to somebody else to get away from liability, and then they come back and say, oh, well, we don't own that, we can't go back on that property and fix it. And you know darn well, that's a very high probable thing of happening. Other than that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Board members, any questions, statements?
Mr. Chairman, I prepared to make a motion.
Okay. Go ahead.
In the matter of AB 9902-2022, Dan's Excavating, Inc., 2985 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-056, and unaddressed land that is in that portion of Lot 11 of Mount Judah Farm, south of 2985 Judah Road, excluding the portion of Lot 11 of Mount Judah Farms that is part of Breckenridge Orion Condominiums, parcel number 09-32-400-096, and unaddressed land that is 1 parcel west of 2985 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-095, and 3011 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-063. I would move to approve the Dan's Excavating and CP Ventures application for closure of Ordinance 99 Earth Balancing and Excavation Permit for 2985 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-056, the unaddressed land that is the portion of Lot 11 of Mount Judah Farms, south of 2985 Judah Road, excluding the portion of Lot 11 that is part of Breckenridge Orion Condominiums, parcel number 09-32-400-096, the unaddressed land that is 1 parcel west of 2985 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-095, and 3011 Judah Road, parcel number 09-32-400-063, and direct the township administrator and engineer to assure completion of all ordinance requirements for the proper restoration and closeout of the permit consistent with the approval plan, and when appropriate, direct the township administrator to terminate or release any applicable bond or other security. And this is conditioned on the OHM letter dated April 21st, 2002. All silk fence shall be removed from the site and vegetation established within the newly mulched blanketed areas.
Any discussion by the board?
Need a second?
Do I have a second? You support? Okay, nothing further from the board? We have a motion by Mr. Flood, a second by Ms. Zanaskis. Please call the roll.
Diane Danaskis?
Yes.
Tony Cook?
If you have something.
Well, I did. I wanted
I'm sorry.
to clarify the
Question
term.
on the motion?
Question on the motion. Question actually on a definition of established vegetation. There's some blankets here that are out here, when I'm looking at them, I see like hay. Is that considered to be established vegetation at that point, sir?
I believe what you're referring to are the mulch blankets.
Yes, sir.
They're a fabric with, straw, hay woven into them.
Yes, sir.
They're made to protect the newly emerging vegetation underneath them. Those areas were what we were referring to in our letter that need to establish vegetation. It hasn't completely grown up through them yet. We anticipate they will, but that was a condition that we are asking the applicant to abide by, so.
All right.
That's what you had?
Yes, sir.
I believe, since I was the motion maker, that was the condition that you put in the OHM letter, was that, that vegetation established within that newly mulched blanketed area.
Correct.
So does your motion stand as
Still
given?
stands.
Your support stands. Moved by Mr. Flood, supported by Ms. Danaskis. Please call the roll.
Diane Danaskis?
Yes.
Tony Cook?
No.
Mike Flood?
Yes.
Dan Durham?
Yes. Motion passes. Next, we have AB-2022-13, Mark McClintock, vacant parcel, one parcel north of 484 Cushing Street, 09-03-278-031.
Mr. Chairman, I asked to be recused from this. The property that is being appealed is within 300 feet of our property.
Thank you. I will make a motion, or I can't. Somebody needs to make a motion.
I'll move to recuse yourself due to being within 300 feet of your property.
I'll support. Oh, Mr. Goodlow.
Applicant should be aware you need a full 3-0 vote, right, correct?
What's that?
Okay.
But we need a 3-0 vote in order to
Well, I
pass. I just
believe
want-
that I was told a majority. If this has to be 3-0, that's what we'll do.
That's right.
Okay. Then it will be 3-0. Please call the roll on motion.
No, we don't have a motion yet. do we? Oh, on that one?
Didn't you move
Oh, I'm
this?
sorry. On the recusing, I apologize.
I made a motion for her to recuse.
Yes, we
Okay,
have.
I apologize for that. Tony Cook,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes.
and Dan Durham.
Yes.
And Diane?
Okay, she is accused. Petitioner seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. Number 1, a 3-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30-foot to construct a new home with an attached garage 27 feet from the front property line on the roadside. Number 2 is a 4-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8-foot to construct a new home with an attached garage 4 feet from the side property line to the north. And number 3 is a 9.62% lot coverage variance above the allowed 25% for total lot coverage of 34.62%. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Go ahead and introduce yourself, sir, and let us know what you'd like to do.
Hi, good evening. My name's Mark McClintock. I'm the owner of the property. You're known as parcel 09-03-278-031. And I'd like the approval for my variances on the property so I can build my dream home.
Okay. I was out there, as I'm making the assumption that everyone else was, and I was reading in your application. To me, and you tell me what your feeling is about this, to me, it was as if you were trying to take a large house and fit it onto a small lot instead of looking to build a smaller lot or a house rather, to fit the lot you have.
Well, my house would kind of be consistent with the area. It's a 2,700 square foot house that I'm looking to build.
2,700.
2,700, yes.
Okay. You've drawn plans already?
I do have plans, preliminary plans from an architect, yes.
Okay. Board members. Mr. Flood.
Mr. Chairman, a question for you.
Sir.
Are you Lot 1 or Lot 4?
I know it is Lot 4. It's one lot north of 484. When you look at the.
On our thing, it says parcel 1
Parcel 1,
on our
yeah.
agenda here. But when you go out there, you got Lot 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yes, and mine says Lot 4.
Okay, so you're the furthest one south
Yes.
of that.
Yes, so there's the
Gotcha.
road for the island. I'm the one to the right of the island, or just south of the island road.
So you have the easement running to the north of you, that road that runs all the way down back to the lake.
To the island, yes.
Now, is that an easement or is that part of your property?
No, that's separate. That's not a piece of my property. I don't know.
Pardon me?
I don't own the road and/or the,
Okay, so your property line will go up, whatever that easement is for that road right there then.
there's a staking, there's staking.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
Staked, yes, before.
And those lake lots are really tough because they were plotted like 100 years ago and,
Yeah, they're not.
and I was looking at your 27-foot, you're asking only a 3-foot setback for your front.
Correct,
And I noticed every one of those houses on that road, those garages are right up there,
correct,
you know.
correct.
And then you want 4 feet from the 8 feet on the north side, which would abut that easement.
It's close to the road, yes.
Yeah.
That's the north side by the road.
And the fire marshal, his letter here has no concern, issue with this. I'm looking at, and you're only asking for 9.6%
Yes.
lot coverage. I always look for the, is this self-created, this practical difficulty? No, those lots were plotted back in the early 1900s or whatever. You want to try to build something that's today's standards,
Correct.
not back when it was in 1928 or,
Correct, sir.
you know, as a summer cottage when they used to be just, that's all they had out there.
Correct, and several of them are summer cottages.
Well, I look at your practical difficulty being, you know, these difficult lake lots, which by today's standards are non-conforming to what you're supposed to have today for you see these $1 million houses out there on the lake. So, that's my 2 cents.
May I make a couple of comments, sir?
I'm sorry?
May I make a couple comments? as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I've chosen to keep the 8-foot setback on the south side. There's a piece of property that's there that has a pad that people park their stuff on. It's a little bit elevated. I think you can see it on the site plan in there. I wanted to keep that just because of the elevation. That'll allow still the public services to get through there if they need to, fire. And the roadside, I went a little closer, maybe a little bit more than some of the variances that may have been approved that I've seen in the last, probably a year. I know they were mainly 5 feet. I'm asking for 4, but I have the road there, so services can still get through. And then the 3-foot setback is smaller compared to a lot of them. I've seen 20-foot asks. I could pull up the other case number if you want it from last year. That I believe it's in, actually both of them are in my application that have larger lot coverage percentages that they're looking for, as well as, some of the other variances are very large. They want to go, as close to the water as possible. Luckily for my property, I have a little bit longer property, so I don't need as much.
I just am always amazed at the vision of people that can look at a piece of land like that and imagine a house like you're wanting to put on it.
Yeah.
I would not have that vision.
I have a good architect that helps me with that, so, and it's a dream of mine to have a lakefront home, and he's helping me get there, so, and hopefully you guys are too.
Mr. Cook?
Yes, sir. Question number 7, it says, describe how strict compliance with the ordinance unreasonably prevents the owner from using the property for its permitted use. And then you reference the square footage and it being new construction and how it fits with the current setbacks. But then this line here says, this would be burdensome because it would require a redesign of the current plan. So which came first, the property or the plan?
The property I built first. I'm sorry, I acquired the property first. The plan is in motion now.
Right. And so you knew the dimensions of the property.
Yeah, I
designed the home, and then you decided that, okay, because you said something early that was interesting when Mr. Durham was referencing a large house on a small piece of property, and we talked about the redesign. I mean, so that's what I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I may have worded that incorrectly on the application. I still am in the design process. This piece is part of it. Obviously, I'm going through the site plan and all the soil erosion and all that. This piece here, I mean, if they don't pass, I have to go back to redesign.
Okay.
Which, I'm not asking for much compared to a lot of the other ones out there. And if you,
No, I'm focusing on what you have before us today.
Yeah.
And when you made that statement, it just kind of.
I apologize. I forget what I wrote a month ago. I apologize.
Mr. Chairman, maybe I didn't hear this. Because of Mrs. Danaskis having to recuse herself, is this gentleman aware that he has to have a unanimous vote in order for if he wants his variance to be approved? And if not, he has the opportunity to postpone this case until he can have a full 5-member board,
That would be your right.
which would be his prerogative. But this has happened before in the past. We've had that happen before.
Many times.
And I'm sure it's probably.
But if you get turned down, and then you gotta go ahead and reapply again, pay all that money, and,
And go smaller.
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, it's kind of a gamble.
Understood. I mean, I wasn't here for the other meetings. I just bought the property a year ago, and I know that some of the other approvals or variances that have went through that are larger than what I'm asking for have been approved by the board. Now, I don't know
In each case, we do individual,
Yeah.
but I hear what you say, because we've dealt with these other parcels in there.
And I know Ms. Danaskis is,
But what I see favorable is that, to me, this is way out of line. And when you get that 4-foot relief off that north property line, that's an easement there. They can't build on that easement. I mean, that's probably a deed restricted, I'd imagine. Or you can't get access to the back property on that lake. I don't see them closing that off, do you?
No.
I mean,
no, my understanding is that island will have a house on it someday. It's my understanding from what I've heard, but I can't,
right, I mean,
that's hearsay, right?
just thinking, yeah.
If I may.
Please.
If you look at the drawing, you can see the grades out.
What page you on?
It's actually the plot plan drawing on it, showing the location of the house and the elevation of the land. Page. Page 7. See the structure next door as well, right? One concern I have when we build so close to one another is when you transfer a load on a footing, it goes out on a 45-degree angle. So if you're 4 feet or 8 feet from the property and it looks like this home or whatnot is close, sometimes we can have some compromising of each other's footings when we're so close to the property line. And another thing is the grade of this property. You can see how close the lines are together.
Yeah.
You know me, when we talk about these, I always want you to just have that concern for the water. Where are we gonna put it? You're making a flat surface, so all the water's gonna go in one area. Where are we gonna do it? That I always like the board to be able to address that for us, to help us enforce something down the line on that. When the north property line, it's not as concerning with the 4 foot there. It is within 5 foot, so it does require a fire rating of 1 hour for the exterior of the wall. But when we do get these close houses, by putting something 4 foot there, and you saw the grade, when you look to the next door, when you transfer that load down, it really can affect neighbors, and we've seen that happen in a couple different areas. So I just wanted to bring that to the board's attention. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good information.
All right, let me make sure that I'm not out in left field someplace. Your property, I'm standing on Cushing, I'm looking at your property. The road to the island would be to my left, correct?
If you're standing looking at the lake, yes.
Okay, I've got the right place in my mind.
Yes, correct, sir.
So, when you speak of water, are you talking about on the property, off the structure?
Off the structure, yes, if you have a downspout, say, on this front, how are we gonna get that to not the neighbor's property? Because of the way the grade looks on there, I just want to, be aware that we'd look like some sort of,
Would that not have to be approved by you before he could move with plans?
typically, we don't have a water runoff plan, I just wanted to address that, he's aware that he's doing it. Typically, we don't look at it. If we have an issue with it, then we have to be more reactionary. There's really no function for us to do it because the code just says, you gotta run your property 6 inches and 10 feet. So when you have 4 feet, what do we do then? So the code doesn't really address it.
Yeah.
Follow me?
You were never told by anybody at any time that that lot wasn't buildable?
No, sir.
What you're hearing here, is this the first time you've heard this?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not built.
No, I know you're not. I'm
Just
just
giving-
trying to get,
Yeah.
because I had the same paragraph in your application circled that Mr. Cook spoke of. I read it 2 or 3 times, and then I thought, well, maybe it's just one of those semantic things. And I didn't give it much more weight. But you need to make a decision pretty soon. Mr. Flood brought up the point. Tonight, you have to get everybody. The next meeting, you'll have You can have 2 noes and 3 yeses and still carry. If you get a no tonight, you're done. It is your call in its entirety what you do.
Okay.
If you decide to pull back, you've heard some concerns that may be brewing in the mind of the building department, and it might be something that you could go with and hash out before it becomes an issue. I can't give you any direct what I think, because it's not about what I think, it's about what you think.
Understand. Yeah, and I understand there's the concern on the 4 feet, but if that's the concern, then why don't we do 2 and 2? So I'm 6 feet on both sides, north and south, instead of me going 4 feet to one side.
So you're wanting to change the plans?
Well, I can I can keep the same size house, I just have to shift where the house sits on the property at that point. Because right now, I'm asking for, based on the plans, how the plans look, the site plan, I'm asking for 4 feet on the north side, I'm keeping the 8-foot setback on the south side. I could go 2 and 2, right? So I could say 6 on the north and 6 on the south, that gets me my 4 feet that I need.
Are you planning to start construction immediately?
No, sir.
Why I ask that is we ask folks to take the temperature of the room, and I can't speak to the other 2 gentlemen here, voting members. If I'm going to vote to approve something, I like to be able to see it the way that it is. I really don't like to vote on things that I call done on the fly, because you need to know what you've agreed to, and we need to know what you've agreed to.
Understood.
And that's just my own personal bias on it, Mr.
Mr. Chairman?
Flood.
I don't believe, I think the building official will back me up on this. The 6 foot, 6 foot, taking the 2 feet off the one side is no problem, but adding the 2 feet on the other side, that changes the variance.
Yeah, it would have,
And it have to be all
yeah.
done again.
and
You
the
can't
code-
increase,
Yeah,
you
exactly.
can always go down.
If he went to 5 foot on the one, he'd just still have to say 8 foot on the other. My concern with, the 4 foot side is on the easement side. So, I just wanted you to be aware that there is still a fire rating requirement on that wall.
Even though there's nothing can be built there, it's a road.
Yeah, it
there's
says
no-
property line, which, yeah.
Yeah, it's never gonna be blocked off, it'll always be a road to an island, there's
You
not.
never know what happened on that
Well,
lake,
But his variance stays with the land no matter what happens.
Absolutely.
No matter whatever they did with that other property.
Yeah.
The variance stays with his property. It always runs with the land, so that wouldn't be any of your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Understood.
Mr. Cook, you got anything?
No, well, I'll address this. I too, like Mr. Durham, read it, didn't think it was anything, and then you made a statement, and I know you've since corrected that, but that becomes my major concern in this, is when I look at what Mr. Goodloe has mentioned in terms of what you're talking about, and then you mentioned earlier about the structure that's elevated the pad itself, and so now you're going closer to that, which is, would be okay if you were within the setback, but you're not. And so, and then the third thing that it brings up is that you're willing to work with us, but you want to do that on the fly, and that's what concerns me also, is it, without you going back to your architect and kind of looking at it, and we can do the calculations, but then it puts us in a position where we may give you something that you don't want or something that we will regret by doing this on the fly. Mr. Durham asked you if you were looking to build immediately. You said no, and so there's not a concern with that. And so, to me, there are just several red flags here. And not negative red flags, but on the fly type red flags that I think you should take into account when, asking for a vote tonight.
Understand. No, I mean, I understand what I'm asking for, and I understand what's been approved by 300-foot radius in the past year, and I'm asking for nothing different than what everybody else already got
I
approved.
understand, and I'm saying, don't lose the battle.
No, I'm not trying to. I'd like to build my dream home.
Right, that's all.
As you heard me mention earlier in the meeting, what happened then was then, we deal with now.
Understand?
It occurs to me that you have had the opportunity to take the temperature in the room here. You are not obligated to do anything. You can go for a vote tonight, and you stand or you fall. Or you can agree to a date. We have a sheet here of dates that we can bring you back for, and you will have had a chance to fine tune things, and maybe you'll have 3 more answers than we have questions. So it is up to you, but it needs to happen before a motion, once a motion's called for, we're headed down the road. So, Mr. Goodlow.
One more thing. I'm also seeing some discrepancies in the elevations on the sheet. You look on the plan, the plot plan shows almost a 15-foot elevation drop, 110 to 95 on the backside. And on the elevation side, the drawing, it only shows roughly a 9-foot drop in elevation. So it's not really an accurate depiction of how that grade will look. You're talking 15-foot drop is a big drop from front to back on a 40-foot, which our ordinance really only requires, I believe it's 3-on-1, Mark, isn't it, our ordinance? 4-on-1? 1-on-4, I'm sorry. Yes. So that does raise some concerns because that side would almost be intraversible at that 15-foot drop. And but the elevation shows, so I think having an accurate elevation would.
You've heard words like concerns, you've heard words like red flags, you've heard words like uncomfortable. It is still your decision. If you decide to pull back to a date certain, you have not lost anything. You have gained the opportunity to answer some of these concerns and fine tune. And you will be back on, we'll give you some dates here if that's your choice, and we will do it again. And there's every hope that what you would like to have happen may indeed happen. Can't guarantee it, but you have to look, and Mr. Cook spoke to it, a battle versus a war. I mean, decide what you believe is in your personal best interest, and let me know.
Well, I can already tell where this is going in the room, so when's my next possible dates that I could reconvene with the board?
May 9, May 23.
We have 4 cases already on the 9th.
Well, it's on the date certain sheet.
What? Well, I know, but you have an opportunity not to,
Understand.
I don't want to sit for 5, 6 cases in
If you
one
want
night.
to come back on the 9th, we'll bring it back on the 9th.
Okay, will I get notes on the meeting so I can address the concerns that you have, or
Yeah, the minutes will be out,
usually a week later, probably?
yeah, it's usually like 2 days later, right? 3 days, Mike? 4 days? How long does the minutes get, Pat, till they're out? Or the
Okay, here we-
How long until the minutes come out? The applicant's requesting the minutes from this meeting. So you,
Oh, you have to call the planning and zoning department, they'll tell you. I have no idea. I can answer for them.
Well, I suspect they'd be out before May 9th.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely, but
And if I were you, I would keep the building department on speed dial when something occurs to you question-wise. Make them get tired of talking to you so that you know where you are when you come back. Is the 9th your choice?
Yes.
Okay. You'll be back on the 9th.
you need a motion.
We do need a motion.
Need a motion.
Has to carry 3, right, votes?
Yes, it does.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr.
Okay, in the matter of AB 2022-13, Mark McClintock, vacant parcel 1, parcel north of 484 Cushing, parcel Sidwell number 09-03-278-3, correction, -031. Petitioner has requested that his request for seeking 3 variances from zoning ordinance number 78, Article 6, Section 6.04, zoned R3. Number 1, a 3-foot front yard setback variance from the required 30 feet to construct a new home with an attached garage 27 feet from the front property line being the roadside. Number 2, a 4-foot side yard setback variance from the required 8 feet to construct a new home with an attached garage 4 feet from the property line to the north. And number 3, a 9.62% lot coverage variance above the allowed 25% for a total lot coverage of 34.62%, be postponed until a date certain, that date certain being May 9th, 2022. And the petitioner would like to postpone until that time.
I will support. Ms. Flood, any further discussion? Motion by Mr. Cook, supported by myself. Please call the roll.
Mike Flood,
No.
Don Walker, no, Tony Cook,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes.
Need another motion.
What's that?
That motion failed, so we need another motion.
May 23rd? Or June 13th?
I suppose I don't really have a choice, since May 9th is my choice, that,
Well, that motion.
yeah, no, I.
That motion
I-
failed.
Go ahead.
Alright.
That failed.
Oh,
Motion failed.
I
I
understand.
said we had 4
I understand.
cases on the docket. I do not favor doing 5 or 6 cases on the docket. That's my personal opinion.
I understand that, Mr. Flood.
And I have a right to say that.
What was the other dates, I'm sorry, again?
May 23rd, June 13th.
How many are on the docket for May 23rd?
None.
Then I will take May 23rd.
Mr. Chairman, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Please.
In the matter of AB 2022-13, Mark McClintock, vacant parcel 1, parcel north of 484 Cushing Street, parcel number 0903278-031. For the petitioner's request, we postpone this case until May 23rd, 2022.
Support.
Motion by Mr. Flood, supported by Mr. Cook. Please call the roll.
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes?
Dan Durham.
Yes.
Rio.
Back on the 23rd.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we need to get Mrs. Danaskis for the next part.
Oh, let me go get her.
Does anybody see the need, or, Mr. Landis, do you see the need to stay with us? I don't see anything because we have public comment at the end, but that is just us listening to the concerns of the public. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your expertise.
Yeah.
You did the right thing getting out of here. Let the record show Mrs. Danaskis is back with us for the next case. It is case AB 2022-10, proposed ZBA amended bylaws. We've all had ample time to go over the bylaws as they have been amended and sent to us. I believe after a proper period of discussion, it is up to us to provide a motion to accept. Then they will be moved forward to the Board of Trustees to be handled further from there. Mr. Flood.
Mr. Chairman, yes, we all had an opportunity to turn those in to Lynn, and our township attorney has reviewed them. We've done this, this will be our 3rd time, because we had to amend them last time, we left out one of the articles. And the township board had a week to review them, and they've got their input. So I'm prepared to make a motion.
Any discussion by any of the rest of the board? Ms. Danaskis, Mr. Cook? It's pretty straightforward. I think we've been hitting the check boxes pretty straight all along. I'll go ahead and make motion, please, if you're ready.
I move to adopt the amended ZBA bylaws, draft dated 3/31/2022, and to forward to the township board for approval.
Do I have support? Moved by Mr. Flood, supported by Mrs. Danaskis. Please call the roll.
Diane Danaskis,
Yes.
Mike Flood,
Yes?
Tony Cook,
Yes.
Dan Durham.
Yes. Moving to public comment. Anyone that would like to address the board, please come up.
Eugene McNabb, 2981 Judah. I've been to a lot of meetings, You know it, everybody on the board knows it. And I've been to meetings as long as somebody was bringing up something new or and not repeating what they've said. This board has let people talk and talk and talk until they start repeating the same information. I've seen that over and over. So now, if I watch TV or any time from now on, and I see somebody talk for over 5 minutes, you're violating your rules. But no. I've seen people talk and talk, and you have. And another thing is, when I ask to challenge a chair, that board, the chairman is supposed to ask for a vote among the members. A member's not supposed to get up and say, oh, that's the way we do it. That's the way it's set up. He's supposed to ask for a vote. And if the chairman is turned down, another person for that one point takes this chairman's job and they finish that point that I brought up and it's taken care of. And that didn't happen. And another thing, right or wrong, when this person just got done talking, I didn't hear anybody ask if there's anybody in the audience to make a comment on it. You just close it out. And then you'll sit there and tell me how good, how many years you've been on the board, how smart you are and everything else. And I can remember the time that I turned down the position that I could have been sitting on this board. And I told the person that offered me the job that I was too old and not smart enough to sit on there. I'm not smart enough to sit on there, and I know it. But I wonder about some other people.
Gene McNabb, Orion Township. Couple of comments. This is on the lighter side. I'm constantly running into a stalemate. Maybe Dave could point me in the right direction, or I know you want to answer in public comment, that's fine. Silver Bell Road, I am so sick and tired of driving down that road and getting my truck full of mud. I call the township, oh, it's the county's problem. You call the county won't answer their phone, or they don't give a hoot. Somebody needs to be over there. It's a safety hazard. This board is all, you hear safety, safety, safety. Mud on that road, it's horrible. You don't drive by it. None of you, I don't know where Mr. Cook lives, a lot of you people don't drive by it. Every day, it's horrible. Dan's excavating trucks are going in there now. It's horrible.
Can I interrupt you for a second?
Absolutely.
Are you talking about the piece that hits 24 out there?
Eagle Valley dirt tracking out on the road. They made Dan put a mud pat on a dirt road, but that road is, I've called the county probably a dozen times. Nothing. I called the clerk's office. We don't do roads. I know you don't do roads, but you got a code enforcement people, you know people, I don't know people. It's horrible. Every time I drive down Silver Bell, today it was raining, I called county. Well, we don't know what you're talking about, and it's
Flooding through there still? Because it did flood a couple of years ago and we got rid of that, but you're just saying it's mud now?
they're tracking mud out there every day. They need a sweeper on standby, but that's another thing. On another note, I have also been to a lot of these meetings. And you take, as sitting in the audience, as just a spectator. The first meeting was conducted in a hostile manner on your part. Watch it on TV. The second gentleman was mollycoddled and basically was told, we ain't passing your stuff tonight, you may want to come back. I've seen so many meetings, the guy will get up on the podium, and if it's talking about a safety path or we're all in the same bed together, everybody's happy and giddy, you'll let them ramble for a half hour. And that's the township board also. But it's something that somebody don't want to hear and can't take the heat. Oh, we got the 5-minute rule. I'm going to go on record saying the township needs to pass an ordinance and a rule. Everybody's treated the same because they are not. And you all know it better than I do. This last meeting, the guy wanted the 9th. As far as I understand, Mr. Flood, you're here to serve the community. The community is not here to serve you. I don't care if there's 15 things on the agenda. It's your job to listen to them. Thank you for your time.
Next up, we have communications. I didn't see anything. Anybody aware? No? Member comments?
Oh, committee reports.
Yep, jumped right over them. Committee reports. Thank you.
Good news. We had our last fence ad hoc committee. We had a full, everybody was there. We took all the comments. They're all now going to the planning commission. That's ordinance 78 we're talking about. So now we'll be going to the planning commission. Once I find out when that's on the docket, we can be all notified, and we can come and address the concerns. So we're moving along with that ordinance.
Good.
Once the planning commission decides what they want to do, and it won't be coming back to us at all. That's in their bailiwick. Then their recommendation will be to the township board. And as any ordinance change, we'll have to do a public hearing on it, has to be published in the paper. Then I think you have to do 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever the statute is. Then you have another reading of it. And then, so this is what, going on May 1st. So it'll be done sometime, hopefully before fall.
Okay.
So what's the best way for us to keep abreast of it? Because eventually,
It'll be on the planning commission docket. You keep, check and see when it's be placed on the planning commission agenda.
okay, and then we
That's-
get copies of it and whatever,
And you can get that right off of the
off the township.
township website, yeah. And if I do see it, I'll zip it out there. We'll make sure Lynn and Tammy will notify us. And if you want to show up at the planning commission meeting, that's your right to do,
Okay.
That's it, I know.
Thank you.
Thank you for moving on that, Mike. Thanks for moving forward on it.
Thank
Do we have any member comments?
Just wanted to comment that I take Silver Bell every morning, so that's it. And my truck's very clean.
Different opinion of the same talk. I understand what he's talking about.
We've had issues there. Yeah, no,
And I go through there with my freshly washed car and like, really, should I turn around and go back the other way? But that's just me. It's Flood.
I remember years ago, I used to see a street sweeper out there all the time. And I haven't seen that in years for that Silver Bell. I want to address, I'm glad, ordinance 99, that was our last 99 permit that we've been in this township for 60, 65 years. The other 3 were closed out, on Brown Road. The state legislature is trying to take over ordinance 99 for every community in this state. If they get a hold of it, they'll be telling you where your mining operations will be, and you won't have a word to say about it. This is back, they keep bringing it up at the state legislature for a law, because you've got lobbyists that want to mine in certain areas in this state real bad, and they can't get past their local ordinances. So it's another thing of the state trying to grab away your local control. So be prepared. And one last thing I can say is that it's an honor and pleasure to serve on here with these dedicated men and women who live in this community. We have to tackle some tough issues. And this is probably the toughest issue in this township for the last 30, 40 years. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, but I respect everybody on this committee. And I respect everybody on the past boards too. We know it's not an easy task. Because these ordinances are meant for every 39,000 residents living in this township. And we try to be fair and equitable. And I want to compliment the chairman tonight for running a very good meeting. And it's hard to be a chairperson, and you are well within your rights with our bylaws and our Robert's Rules of Orders. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and the rest of the body here. That's my comment.
Thank you. It was my impression that I'd given him at least 10 minutes before I told him he had 5 more. So, and he was starting to get back into the 70s again, and we've all heard that.
He didn't stay with what's relevant. It was all the other chatter that isn't relevant to our
And I have the most
decision.
respect for Mr. McNabb and Mr. McNabb, his son. I've known them all my lives. They're good friends of my family. My mother was Mr. McNabb's wife's best friend. So it's hard to sit up here and the human emotions, I understand. So,
He was coming to these
Not easy.
meetings when I was an alternate way back when, so his staying power is amazing. And I meant it when I told him I'm sorry that he's not happy, but I don't really guess I know what it would be. But I'm straying into just rambling on now. Ms. Goodlow, you have anything?
Thank you for,
No problem. If we have nothing further, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll move to adjourn.
Support, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're done.
Your microphone's off.